Welcome to The Drive with your automotive experts and hosts, Lauren and Karl Brauer. Each week we deliver the latest breaking news, vehicle reviews, and inside look at what's happening in the automotive world. Buckle up, it's time to hit the road with The Drive.
Welcome to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. And we have a special, actually, he's not so special because he's on all the time. He is a special person, but we love having Henry Payne from Detroit talking to us on a regular basis because he's right there at the heart of the automotive world. And we're going to talk about some fun topics, but, Lauren, how are you doing? Glad we're doing another show, right?
Yeah. Welcome to the show. I'm really excited because we had an opportunity to go out. I rode with Henry at a Honda event. We drove the Prelude and the Pilot. But before we roll into that, I want to let you know about some of the new product that's coming out from Honda. And then we're going to discuss what we thought of it, because it's good to get insight not just from the brand, but also from the three of us and what we think. Karl, I had a great opportunity to speak with Lance Wolfler, who's the Vice President of Automobile Sales. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to drive the brand new 2026 Honda Pilot and the Prelude. But I think what's exciting is the changes that Honda's made, not just on the vehicles, but you've got all kinds of new product coming out.
Yeah, we're excited about 2026 and the fact that really over the last 18 months, we've refreshed almost all of our product line. So we've got probably one of the freshest lineups in the industry based on what we did over the last year and a half and what we've got coming again in 2026, which includes the Passport and the refinements that we've made there and the all-new Prelude.
The Prelude's actually really exciting.
Yeah.
It was a finalist for the North American Car of the Year. I actually voted for it, so I'll admit my vote. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun to drive.
Yeah.
And that's what Honda's always been about, whether you're buying a Civic Type R or an SI. But then you've also got these great three-row SUVs like the Pilot, which is a big seller for you.
Absolutely. This is a class-leading vehicle, and it's a top seller in the segment and really gives us an opportunity to give a vehicle that fits people's needs really well in that segment. But then you look at the Prelude, as you mentioned, and it's about what's right for the consumer and how do we build a vehicle that's not just going to be something that works for them, but that excites them and really meets their needs. And the Prelude in particular does that very well. People are very excited about it.
So I had an opportunity to listen to your sales presentation, which typically goes to media and some of the dealers. But one of the things you brought up that I was really excited about was this camper. I thought it was the coolest thing. I think that's going to be a huge seller because people like to go and do things, and sometimes you got kids with you. I've got grandchildren, but if you've got children or you want to take a break, it actually meets a lot of people's needs.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I camped a lot as a kid, so it's really particularly exciting to me. But a lot of our consumers are campers, and that market, as I mentioned in that meeting, has grown tremendously with 2 million new campers over the last number of years.
2 million?
But that vehicle, what's exciting about it is it can be towed by a CRV, something in that segment, which gives a lot more accessibility to that kind of vehicle. So we're excited about the camper and how it ties into our overall lineup. So the Honda Base Station is a pretty exciting concept for us.
I was really happy to see that, actually. And I like that it's modern and it's lightweight versus something like an Airstream or something that's big and you're like, how am I going to haul that behind my CRV?
Right.
Well, now you can.
Yeah.
So besides it, we've got the new Honda Pilot. I do want to talk about this.
Okay.
We're reviewing this, and we're going to talk about this after the break as well. So we want you to make sure you stay because we'll have Henry Payne on with us. We're going to talk about the Prelude, and of course, we're going to talk about the Pilot. Big changes, though, for this vehicle.
Yeah, it's really been enhanced, and I think from an appearance standpoint, it's even more rugged looking than it has been in the past, and we've got a really positive response. Actually, I've had some family members bring up the changes to this vehicle. And then when you look at some of the new tech inside, particularly the larger screen, we're getting a very positive reaction from consumers. Standard.
That's huge. Standard, bigger digital gauge, bigger center screen, standard safety, as always, Honda Sense. I think that's big things that people want. When you're driving a vehicle like this, you want it to be user-friendly. And then you change the materials on the inside also.
Sure.
I really like the soft materials. You've got like a suede material as well, new interior colors, new exterior colors. I mean, I think that's what consumers are looking for, something fresh and new.
And that's what it's about. It's listening to the consumer, what is it that they're looking for, and how do we really fit their expectations and really their needs.
Okay, now I have another question.
Sure.
Because on this Honda Pilot we're standing next to, there is an Olympic logo.
Right.
You want to tell us about this very exciting
Well, we're
process?
a proud sponsor of the LA 28 Olympics. In fact, we're a founding sponsor of the 28 Olympics. And it's very exciting for us to be involved in that and being a partner of it. And even with the Winter Olympics that are coming up, we are supporting Team USA with hockey and with bobsledding, even working with our wind tunnel, even working with our team to be able to enhance some of the aspects of bobsledding and how they can compete effectively. So we're really excited.
Yeah.
We're rooting for Team USA, and we're
Of course.
proud to be a part of it.
That's fantastic. Is there any other products that we have coming down the pike? I know this is a gasoline-powered vehicle
Sure.
across the full lineup. Are we going to see some more hybrids coming out?
Well,
Because
with
you have
Honda,
that down.
Yeah, we've got a really strong hybrid lineup currently, and we recently announced that we're developing a V6 larger vehicle powered hybrid that will be coming to market. Which particular vehicles it's going to be a part of, we haven't announced yet, but we're excited to enhance our lineup with that ability in the coming years.
Consumers have really leaned into hybrids aggressively. They like the fact that you can have the electrification and still get the great fuel economy on the highway and still have something that's easy for everyone to use no matter where you live across the country. And I think dealers are excited about it and consumers are obviously excited about it.
Yeah, we've been very successful with those products, but we still sell a large number of gasoline-powered Civic, Accord, and CRV vehicles to consumers, and it's really about what's best for them. And do they value the hybrid? Does it fit their needs? Or are they looking for potentially a little bit lower price point with a non-hybrid gasoline-powered Civic or CRV?
You did say in your sales meeting that you're going to start bringing in more entry-level vehicles for consumers who are looking for more affordability.
Correct. Because in this environment, affordability is key, and you want to have the right vehicle for the consumer and make sure that we build the right amount. So that's always a difficult challenge for auto manufacturers as the market fluctuates. But we know that today affordability is key, and we've seen a lot of demand for those gasoline-powered Civics, in particular Accord and CRV.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for enlightening us on the new products coming in, Lance. And there'll be more right after the break. Stay right with us.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. And this segment is brought to you by IC Cars. That's where I'm the executive analyst at really one of the best online research sites for new and used car shopping, whether you're looking at listings across the country or locally, or you just want to read some of the great data and research that we do on what's going on in the marketplace, iccars.com. Now, we just heard from Honda's people and about the new Pilot and a lot of the product that's coming out. But you guys both drove that. You were at that event, you and Henry. Let's hear about what you guys thought of these new Honda products that you just drove.
Yeah, great family vehicle, Lauren. I like three-row SUVs. It's an incredibly competitive segment these days. So you've got new product in there from Chevy. They make the best Traverse ever, and Ford Explorer and Toyota Highlander, of course, are the mainstays in that segment. But tremendous
Kia and Hyundai too.
Tremendous competition from the Koreans. A lot of people think that they set the standard for this segment now with the Hyundai Palisade and the Kia Telluride. So Honda with the Pilot has some stiff competition to deal with.
I agree. Some changes. I mean, it looks a little different on the outside, a little boxier. And of course, the larger center screen and the new interior, very modern. I like the interior. The only thing that I didn't like, and I put this in my review, is there's no lumbar on the passenger side. So while Henry was driving, I'm just like, this is uncomfortable for me. If lumbar doesn't fit a factor to you, then you won't even notice the difference.
Well, and that's key though, because at the end of the day, this is a road trip car. I mean, there are a lot of enthusiast cars. We're going to talk about the Prelude. We're talking about EVs. Those tend to be more urban cars. I mean, things like lumbar support are really important because the Pilot is a vehicle that's designed for families to go long distances. And that to me, that's the strength of the car. The ergonomics of this thing are top class. They have cubbies everywhere in the cabin. I'm a 6'5" guy. I can sit in the third row comfortably. They got USB-C ports everywhere, and just the steering wheel ergonomics are really good, so that you can properly control that car on road trips. That's one of the negatives, I think, relative to the Detroiters, like the Chevy Traverse and the Ford Explorer, that offer hands-free highway driving, and Honda is a little bit behind in that regard.
Right. And one of the things I really liked about the vehicle was the fact that the steering was tighter. And I noticed it immediately. As soon as I got in the driver's seat, I said, wow, tighter, more feel for the road. So that's an improvement.
Mm.
But we did talk to one of the product planners, and she showed us some really cool features, like taking the center console out of the second row and it's stored in the trunk. She did also state that they are going to add lumbar support, but she didn't say when. But if it's important to you, I mean, if it isn't, there's, it's not a big deal. But the interior materials and the exterior colors, I think they did a nice job. And there's a lot of competition. And I always tell people, test drive everything, and then, of course, check with your insurance company before making a decision.
So you guys spent a lot of time in the Pilot, but you also got some time in the Prelude too, right? And got to experience that. Now, we all got exposed to it during the North American Car of the Year testing last fall, but more seat time, quality seat time. So what did you guys think after additional time?
Yeah, Prelude is a really interesting car. I actually tested this car in Japan,
Oh, wow.
uh, where the Prelude is an icon. And just like you have icons in this market, like the Jeep Wrangler, um, and the Ford Bronco. I mean, you mentioned Prelude in the Japan market, and you're talking about a real icon over there. It also fits in that market. People run around in tiny little K cars, so the Honda Prelude is actually a reasonably big, convenient car in Japan and their tight streets. So you come over here, and Honda is really virtue signaling with this car. Not only is it mean a lot to the Japanese, but it also is an intention of that brand to go electric. I mean, this is a brand that is called its second founding, the idea of going all electric by 2040. So there's a big halo effect that they're trying to communicate in this hybrid Prelude. This is not the 2001 Prelude that we used to drive with a manual stick shift and throw around on track days. This is a much more sophisticated electrified Prelude and really trying to lean into their electric future.
So they're
Yeah.
talking about
All
going
right.
all electric because the Prelude, or electrified, like the Prelude is a hybrid. They only come hybrid.
Exactly.
Right. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about that and some of the other stuff. I know, Henry, you were at the racetrack recently. So we're going to come right back with more on The Drive with Lauren and Karl and our guest, Henry Payne.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment brought to you by Car Coach Reports. We cut through the noise, and that's my channel. Real car news, real reviews, no spin. Watch Car Coach Reports on YouTube, and full car reviews are on Car Smarts. Get the facts before you buy. All right, Henry, you have been traveling literally the world. And since we have not been covering much on motorsports, don't click out because you have to hear what Henry's been doing. You're going to find this really interesting. Henry, tell us about all your escapades because, boy, you've been everywhere.
Yeah, well, it is exciting times here, Lauren. Everybody knows how much the industry is leaning into motorsports, and particularly the Detroit automakers, General Motors and Ford, are both going racing in Formula One. That's the big headliner. But they're also going global in every other form of motorsport. Both those manufacturers are entering the Le Mans hypercar class. Next year, Cadillac is already in it. Ford entering in 2027, and they're really determined to take their performance brands against the best all around the world, and that helps Ford sell Mustangs in 100 plus countries. It helps Cadillac sell optics and lyrics in places like Europe. And I was in Saudi Arabia because Ford really wants to win the Le Mans of off-road. If you know Ford's brand, they make money hand over fist in the off-road arena with the Ford Bronco, the Ford Ranger. And so they've taken the Raptor brand, which is their performance off-road brand, international, and they came up they came up just a little shy this year, and Dakar finished second place in that Le Mans of the off-road.
Henry was
And you
there.
were there.
Yeah. Karl, you were there too, but you were there with a
Yeah, you were
different
there with me,
brand.
Karl.
Yeah, you and I were both there. I was tagging along with Land Rover, watching them race their stock-based Defender Octa, and they just dominated the class. They completely swept that stock class. Now there was only three competitors: Land Rover, Toyota, and Nissan. But they say that Ford's coming in, and I think you can probably verify that. They say Ford and at least another one or two manufacturers. I think you said that maybe even General Motors, because it's the Le Mans of off-road racing, is the Dakar Rally. and it's very prestigious and it's very cool, and it just has this exotic flavor when you're over there either racing it in person or watching it on TV. So that's really exciting stuff. But then you were at another racetrack too recently, weren't you, Henry?
Yeah, and then I went from Dakar to the high bankings of Daytona. And again, you got 12 manufacturers there from all over the world. 60 car entry. It's extraordinary. Record crowds because they're all trying to win the most prestigious 24-hour race in North America. It's remarkable to be at Daytona, which is known for the 500, the NASCAR race, and to see that many people at a sports car race in North America is really impressive. And again, you have the two brands from Ford and GM at the tip of the spear going at each other. You had Chevrolet versus Ford in the GT category. Corvette nearly pulled that off. And then in the top hypercar class, you have Cadillac going at it with Porsche Penske. And those two were the cream of the crop, came right down to the end. After 24 hours, it's remarkable to see two cars within a second of each other going at it. And Cadillac came up just short, finished second in the 24-hour.
Porsche has been crushing it out there on the track. But did you stay up for the whole 24 hours? Most people that watch 24 hours, like myself, I left the TV on all night long. It was on Peacock, so I just left it on literally all night long. So you get up and kind of peek and go back to sleep because we love racing in our house. But did you actually stay up the whole 24?
I did not. The teams do. I mean, it's a grueling race for the teams. They run on a lot of adrenaline. 88-year-old Roger Penske is down in the pit, and he stays up the full 24 hours. So,
88.
but
That's
yeah, at
pretty
88
impressive.
years old. But I went to bed, which is actually a good thing because there was so much fog in Daytona this year that they spent 6.5 hours under the yellow flag in the early
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, I saw that
So
too. That's depressing because basically the drivers, as a racer, we do race at night. You just driving. It's like driving on the highway. Just like I'm driving from, Detroit to Florida. It's just driving. And there's no passing. You can go in the pits to get fuel, or change drivers. But I think that makes it even more draining on the drivers and the teams.
yeah, no,
Well,
these cars are coming in every 45 minutes with pit stops.
Yeah.
and to me, it's so telling, like you're talking about, Henry, this massively aggressive racing program from both of the major two big domestic players. To me, that speaks to what we're going to talk to after our next break. We're going to get into a little more about, how much money the domestics have been making and how they've been able to spend it and all. But, when you look at a car company and they're throwing a lot, they're not just kind of in there. They're
Millions.
aggressively throwing lots of money across multiple racing series across the planet. They don't do that when they're struggling and wondering where they're going to get the cash from. They do that when they're confident in their finances. So this
Good
gets
point.
into a bigger picture about cars are expensive. A lot of people have been priced out of new cars, and yet, GM's making record earnings. Their stock has done extremely well over the past 1, 2, 3 years, and now we don't even have the EV, drain pulling them down as far as making cars and feeling forced to by regulations. They're able to go right back to the big trucks and SUVs that they've always made their money off of and have their best profit on. And now they're even jumping into racing, as we're talking about here. So it's getting to be an extremely aggressive racing effort. And I keep hearing rumblings there might even be another Ford GT effort, a production-based, race-based production car on the horizon, is supposedly some of the rumblings. So there's a lot going on. Now we're going to talk about more of that. We're going to take another break here, but we're going to come right back with more on The Drive with Lauren and Karl and our special guest, Henry Payne. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl and our special guest, Henry Payne, talking about everything under the sun related to automobiles. And this segment, we want to get into a little bit more about what's going on with the domestics. We talked about how they're throwing money into racing development, which you don't do if you're worried financially. But I don't think they're worried financially, guys. I saw the earnings recently for GM on the fourth quarter of 25. They beat estimates again. They've done that, I think, like 13 or
Impressive.
14 quarters in a row. Yeah, their stock is up more than Tesla's over the past year. They're doing much better than Tesla on stock appreciation over the past year. And Ford is themselves, they don't have quite the same as pure financial numbers, but they're doing fine too. Why are these companies doing fine in spite of $20 billion write-offs by Ford and $7 billion write-offs by GM for electric efforts that didn't go anywhere and cost them money? And they're still making big money because there's still enough people around willing to pay big money for V8 powered trucks and SUVs. And we all know, the three of us all know, that's been their bread
Stellantis
and butter
proved it.
for decades. Yeah, and Stellantis is struggling much more because they went in EVs. They had chargers that are powered by batteries. Nobody was buying. They're pivoting away from that. And the TRX is coming back, extra powerful and all that. So this is what they're all doing. All the domestics or the domestic brands of Stellantis are pivoting away from EVs largely, but not completely, guys. They're still got their toe in the water.
Yeah.
We've got a new sort of Bolt coming with a bunch of updates, and we've got a truck platform, or at least a low-cost track platform that's going to be a truck first, apparently, from Ford that Jim Farley's bragging about costing $30,000. Now, on the $30,000 thing, how many times have we all heard about the future $30,000 EV that never showed up?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's not possible.
Tesla was saying they were going to have a $30,000 to $35,000 car and all, and they never really got there either. But I'm shocked that, for instance, the Bolt is coming back. It's had all these updates. I'm not sure what it cost them to do those updates, but I know that they claimed that affordability was our big focus. And it's going to start at $43,000, $43,470, and that's the base model version of the Bolt. That's really not a new car, but just updated. And there's no EV incentive, remember, guys. So how are they going to sell a $43,000 tiny little car? Who's going to buy that? Nobody's going to buy that. I'm not going to buy that. I don't know who's going to buy a $43,000 compact or subcompact little EV that's not even really all new from the ground up and isn't that impressive in terms of specs. But that's my whole setup for the segment. You guys jump in and tell me what you
Henry, go
think.
for it. You've got some insight that I didn't know about. We talked about in the break. And if you miss the show and you want to see it, you can go to the Drive Car Show on YouTube and you can see the video and you can listen to it at your leisure. All episodes are there. And so, Henry, you have some interesting insight, which will also be on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, about the Bolt.
Yeah, well, the Bolt is the entry level vehicle to Chevy's EV lineup, and if you look at that lineup, it's expensive. All of these EV model lineups are expensive. So I'm not sure if you look at the customer. I'm not sure there's a customer that exists at $30,000. You don't have people with that kind of disposable income only have one car in their garage buying an EV. The EVs tend to be a multi-car garage decision, and GM has invested a lot of money into this EV future. That's been a big part of their mantra is zero, 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 zero emissions being number one. So this is a corporation that is deeply committed to EVs, both in the Chevrolet and the Cadillac brands. Cadillac is going all electric, unlike Chevrolet. So, I think this is a corporate commitment going on. It is notable, however, that there are reports that the Chevy Bolt is going to be an 18-month program.
Just
And again,
18 months. That's crazy.
just,
I mean, to
just
put
18
together all the
months.
costs.
And
Yeah.
the implication of that again is that this is a market that appeals to upper income buyers. And so they're gonna try the Bolt to see if that's a good entry into higher cost electrics in that segment, like the Chevy Silverado EV, the Blazer EV. So we'll see how the Bolt goes. The same is going on over at Cadillac. I was down at Daytona this weekend, as we discussed. They had their EVs out on the display. They have the Optic, which starts at about $50,000. That's their entry level EV for that segment. Now, consider this is Cadillac that also has gas powered vehicles that have sold much cheaper than that. Right, the AT4 that the XT4 that they discontinued last year sold much below that. So I think GM is trying to figure out what the entry point is for EVs because it's such a niche market in the United States. It's just 5% of the market.
It's interesting because President Trump was talking about K cars, which is spelled KEI, not the letter K, or Chrysler K cars. And the small little cars, like a little bigger than a smart car, like a Fiat 500. I don't know if GM's going to get into that market. They do make smaller vehicles in other countries. They would have to produce it in the US. And I know Ford said they might be interested, but it looks like Stellantis is going to jump on that because they're already making small Fiats in other countries. It'd be easy to bring some of the tooling here. But don't forget that the other
They'll
domestic
never
is
sell here.
yeah,
Never
no,
sell.
I don't think so either. Maybe in like Orlando where you're just zipping around town and you live in a community because there's a lot of those in Florida, those like retirement communities. But also don't forget that Tesla is a U.S. car company where Stellantis is based in Belgium or in Europe. Tesla's here. They're building cars here. And no matter what you say, whether you're a naysayer on Tesla or you love the brand, I mean, I wouldn't own it. I think Elon Musk is an interesting person, but it seems like he's really amplifying ways to make money with the robots and investing because he's really considered a tech company versus a car company. And again, we'll see what his profits are and how he handles it. I have a feeling there's going to be lost sales.
Well, what's interesting is, yeah, you've got Tesla who's seen peak EV sales and he's backing off and heading toward other things like autonomous self-driving cars and robots.
Robots.
And then you've got GM and Ford who are keeping their toe in the EV water in this environment, but they're know where their money really comes from. And you know how we all will know when they're serious about EVs? When there's no internal combustion full-size trucks and SUVs,
That won't
because
happen.
that's where they
People
make all
want that.
right,
That's how they
right.
make their money. That's how they can
Yeah,
afford to go racing.
exactly. That's why Cadillac can go all EV because they're not making, I mean, I guess the Escalade, but I don't know how much volume they sell and make off of that car and stuff like that. But, it's they could never give up in any foreseeable future internal combustion powered large SUVs and trucks because that's where all their profit is. And don't forget, just because you're selling an EV doesn't mean you're making money off the EV. And we all know that. It's not just a volume problem. They don't
Losses.
sell a lot of them. They don't have any profit on these things too. They're not making serious money because it costs more to make these vehicles no matter what they're charging for them.
Yep.
So, all right, well, we're going to come back after another quick break and talk more about this topic and some other interesting ones. We'll be right back on The Drive with Lauren and Karl and Henry Payne.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment brought to you by Issy Tire Socks. If you're slipping on ice, put Issy Tire Socks on and go. No stress, no fuss, just slip them over your tires. Just traction that works. They're now available on Amazon or at walmart.com. Issy Tire Socks, that's ISSE, really Issy. Okay, now this subject is one that I have been covering pretty heavily. So back in 2021, there was a bill that went across under the Biden administration called the infrastructure bill. And of course, no one reads the little details, but this is one of the things I love to do. I look for automotive content, and one of them was kill switches. Now, what does that really mean? It means that they put in information into this bill that says if you're under the influence of alcohol, although there's already 31 different devices that actually work, your car will determine if you're under the influence of something, you're stressed, you're not able to focus on the road, that the car will not start. That's a problem. That was supposed to be implemented in 2026, even though the technology was not in place. However, we currently have eye tracking. They can tell if your hands are on the steering wheel. All the data screens and all the information can collect whether you've made aggressive driving moves. And all of that is going to be decided. Judge and jury and executioner will be the software in your car. It's not an AI thing. It's going to be implemented in all cars. It is currently not on any dealers on the lot. So don't let that impact you. The knowledge and the information is collected, but a software update might change things. And car manufacturers will be forced to make this change no matter what. Now, we have had a few representatives, Thomas Massey and Tim Burchett and Steve Perry, have all said we want to strip it, but it's a bipartisan decision to be passed and funded because Mothers Against Drunk Driving pushed for it. Now, no one wants anyone on the streets who have been drinking alcohol. That's understood. But putting in this technology means that maybe the next administration, because it's going to go through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, can say you're not going to drive your car. You're limited how far you can go. You're driving on the road and you scoot around a squirrel. And then maybe somebody crosses over the lane and you dart over to the right so you don't hit them. All of that input is going to be taken in, and the car is going to decide if you're under control or not. And what happens is that vehicle will put on its four ways, pull over to the side of the road, and you're done. And it's what I call kill switch jail. The problem is there's no rules, no regulations, nothing that says how do you get out of it. Does it reset? How long does it take to reset? Well, if it's alcohol in your system, that could be 12 to 24 hours. And this is where people start getting upset. Car manufacturers don't want this because what happens is you won't buy new cars. And used car market will go crazy because people are going to start looking at used vehicles and the prices will go up.
Hmm.
So, what do you think, Karl and Henry, about kill switches and what we can do about it? That's also important. Make sure to contact your representative because many of them have voted for this.
You first, Karl.
So I feel like the history of government, and I don't know, I can't believe I have to explain this to anyone. You guys probably already know this. History of government is littered with unintended consequences. Okay. So all I see here is the potential every time you give technology full control. Anyone who's seen Terminator movies knows how bad it can really go. But this is a little mini version of that. I've been in so many cars in the past 2 years that do all this monitoring of me and driving. And I'm somewhere where there's no cars around. And I'm testing to see how good the car keeps its lane keeping assistance. Or I'm talking to someone and I'm honestly not focused as much on pure lane discipline because there's no cars around me and stuff like that. I'm on a road somewhere, something like that. And all of a sudden I start getting flashes. Pull over. You need coffee. You need to take a break. You're tired and stuff like that. And it's no, I'm not tired. I'm just not driving the way you think I should drive because you don't know as much as they want to. We all want to act like AI and computers know everything and they're smarter than us. There's a lot of stupid people out there who actually already think that. They don't. And so these cars start deciding what condition I'm in based on what they think my circumstances are or my inputs are. And right now they just flash at you and say, pull over and get coffee. What Lauren is talking about is we're pulling over for you and stopping the car. And now you take that a next step. Well, that's really unfortunate. You made a bad decision about me, and I was on the 405 in some part of LA that maybe I don't ever want to be stopping in if I could help it. And now you're pulling off the freeway and stopping me there. So, how long before the news story of individuals having bad things happen to them because the car decided to stop in a place that it should have never stopped, and these people never would have normally stopped. But that's just my not so humble ability to, opinion based on my ability to, I don't know, have a memory and watch the past of intrusive laws that are supposed to be making us safer, but actually make us less safe. That's just my opinion. What do you think,
Henry?
Henry?
Well, I think this goes to a much more deeper and fascinating issue about the United States and why the United States auto market is different than the rest of the world. Speaking of history, Karl, there's a very similar parallel to this, and that's the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit that was imposed by the federal government back in the 1970s for safety reasons. It became
right?
Yeah.
it became a cultural touchstone for liberty. You had truck convoys going across the country. You had Hollywood movies made about how much Americans who value their liberty hated the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. That what is different about this country than every other country on the planet is it's an individual, it's a consumer-based, liberty-based culture, and it rebels against these sort of top-down edicts. That's why the EV mandates have failed in the last 5 years. Go overseas, go to Europe where you have more nationalistic, collectivist cultures. They have speed limiters in their cars. Europeans live with these every day. Once you go over the speed limit, a little light and a buzzer start beeping in your cockpit. Europeans live with that. You go to China. We're talking about the K cars because I'm sorry, Japan. Because Japan is so crowded, the culture there has given special tax breaks, so people buy these tiny cars that can go anywhere.
Henry, let me
Because
interrupt you for just a second. We're going to pop it into neutral and pay some bills, but we'll be right back to continue this conversation on the drive with Lauren and Karl.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl and our special guest, Henry Payne. And this segment is brought to you by Karl Brauer Cars. It might sound familiar. That's my YouTube channel. I put up a couple videos per week, and it can range from anything to the Nissan Leaf to the Lamborghini Temerario that I drove recently and just put a video up on, and pretty much anything between, plus maybe a few executive interviews thrown in for fun. So Karl Brauer Cars on YouTube. Now, Henry, you were really explaining a fascinating concept, and one that I'm a big believer in, which is the idea that what separates this country from every other country really currently, and you could maybe make an argument in the history of human civilization, was what this country was founded on, which again is personal liberty. And I think about like most of this country west of the Mississippi and how it was settled, right? Like you had individuals who had no guarantees that they wouldn't be killed by Indians or even got caught in a gunfight and get shot. And yet a bunch of individuals went out and did it anyways. The whole reason the western half of this United States is settled is because you had people willing to take big risks and go out there. And that follows people coming across big ocean called the Atlantic from Europe and other places, again, taking a risk. It was pretty risky taking those big trips and coming to a whole new continent that really hadn't been settled and you kind of didn't know what was going to happen. So that's the spirit that started this country. And just to get on my little soapbox for a second here, it astonishes me at the level of laws and protectionism and control and concept of we've got to make sure nothing bad ever happens to anyone, even if it means nobody is allowed to do anything. And it's like, weren't people like having gunfights and trying to settle land and hope they didn't get killed by anything from wild animals and stuff to other forces once upon a time? What has happened to us? But anyways, that's the overall perspective that I think a lot of people have. And then they hear about these kill switches that we've been talking about. And that's exactly what you were talking about, Henry. Please keep going as far as your opinion about our culture versus others.
Well, that's why people come here from all over the world. It's extraordinary what people will do to come to this country in the name of liberty. They want to live. They want to live free, and you have nationalistic cultures all over the country, all over the world. The Japanese culture is a different culture. European cultures are distinct nationalistic cultures, but they tend to be more collectivist as a result. You come here, and the war between the state and the individual is always front and center because people really value their civil liberties and their individual freedom here. And I'll give you an example, a small example. The 55-mile-an-hour speed limit is a headliner of how a national movement arose because people rejected that kind of law. But even on a small level, racers like Lauren and I go to the track regularly and exercise our cars. The federal government during the Obama administration snuck in a regulation that said that you could not modify your streetcar for track use, and that would have affected a small segment of the population. It was snuck in regulation. There is a whole trade group that called the SEMA, the Special Equipment Marketing Association, that lives off of those kind of modifications to production cars. They organized a national movement with hundreds of thousands of signatures.
But it impacts billions of dollars in sales and jobs.
Impacted their sales. SEMA went to congressmen all over this country, and they got that obscure little regulation overturned. So the liberty movement here is very strong. And when you put things like you try to regulate things like kill switches in cars, you poke the liberty bear.
Yep. And I think part of that is also that if you don't bring it to you, the listener, and you don't talk about it with your neighbors and other people, then nobody knows about it until it's implemented. And then you got a problem. So the one thing you can do is your elected officials, and I do have a list on my Car Coach Reports YouTube channel. It's also on my website, Car Coach Reports. You can go there, see the list. I'm sure you can find it under Thomas Massey or under Tim Burchett. There's a list. If your representative voted for this, you need to talk to them. Hey, I elected you to represent me. I didn't tell you you could control my car. Now, many people are saying, well, I just won't buy a new car. But the impact of that to the auto industry is major negative. And they have lobbyists also, and they're going to want this removed because it means more technology, which makes cars more expensive. And again, we're trying to lower the price of cars, which is what we were talking about earlier in the show with Honda. They're trying to lower the price of cars. But there's so much more on this. And I think one of the important things is that you get a hold of people, you share it with everyone. And next week we'll have even more with another special guest on The Drive with Lauren and Karl.
You've been listening to The Drive, your trusted source for the latest car news, expert reviews, and real insights into the automotive world. Thanks for riding along with us today. You can check out the entire archive of every episode on our YouTube channel, The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and join the conversation by leaving your comments. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy the ride, and we'll see you right back here on The Drive.